Good evening, Croeso. Welcome to this live Rhydycar West event broadcast on YouTube and Facebook. My name is Lynn Williams. I'm working on the public consultation team for the Rhydycar West project. I live in Merthyr Tydfil and will be contactable using the email address displayed below should you wish to speak to me about the plans discussed during tonight's event. During tonight's presentation, we'll have the opportunity to ask questions in the comment section of the video on both YouTube and Facebook. We'll add those questions to the list of others that we might currently and should have received if we run out of time. We will reply to you in the comment section after the event. I'll now pass you on to my colleagues Richard Arnold and Ali Tidecam, who continue with this evening's presentation. Thank you.
Great, and thank you very much, Lynn, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Richard. How are you doing?
Yes, good. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Lynn. Yeah, hopefully we're ready to go and present the Rhydycar West project and proposals for development. Probably just by way of introduction, I'm Richard Arnold. If you like, operations in the UK, and Ali can introduce himself.
Absolutely. So I'm the investment director and also one of the landowners, and both Richard and I have been involved with this project for a long period now, and we're really excited to be showing you today what really has been a significant amount of work over the years, and we've got some really kind of what we think are great images and visuals of the development that's been developed by our professionals. So we'll guide you through a presentation and look forward to introducing everything, explaining the evolution and the different elements of the resort development that we're putting in planning permission for later on this year. And without further ado, I guess, Lynn, if you could pull up the presentation and we can kick off. Excellent. So if some of you have been to our website, you may notice that we have a number of visuals on the website, and this is essentially a CGI that gives a great overview, I think, of the development and how it sits in the valley. Just to orientate everyone, the town of Merthyr Tydfil, and in particular the leisure centre at Rhydycar. Lynn, if you might want to put your cursor over where that is, so everyone can get an idea of where the leisure centre is on the other side of the A470. Our development, as many of you will be aware, is on the other side of the A470, so the other side of the Rhydycar roundabout. And the land that comes in under our ownership is roughly about 575 acres, of which we'll be developing only a very small area on the southern end of the site. Couple of other things for sort of orientation, just for those out there. Lynn, if you could just point out where Helgerig is on the site, and not quite on the visual here, but to the left, going off the screen, you're moving down to Bikepark Wells, down that way there. So I think this is a good way to sort of introduce the different elements of the scheme, and the resort is very much an indoor, all year round resort that is anchored on a number of key attractions or experiences. The first one, which I think you may have heard about if you've looked at our website and seen things in social media, etc., is the snow center. So Lynn, if you can sort of show that on the graphic, we'll have much more. Sorry, if we can go back, Lynn, to the just an overview of the site there. So we have the snow center there, and the resort with sort of the hotels, also integrating a water park, and we have more detailed visuals on all of that later on, as well as the hotels and the lodges on the southern sort of end of the site. Maybe Lynn, you can orientate people where the lodges would be. Excellent. So I think that's just an overview of the site plan and our master plans, if you like. And then I think we can move forward onto a quick overview of some of the elements that are on site. So if we go to the next slide, Lynn, and then, sorry, onto the next one as well. The key elements, as I sort of mentioned before are the snow centre, the water park, different wings to a hotel. We're envisaging about 400 rooms in total across the different wings, which cater to different types of visitors. People are looking for different types of experiences, from sort of spa experiences down to sort of sport and coming with some friends to spend time over the weekend, outdoor adventure activities, and of course lodges and nestled in the forest, in sort of natural surroundings. So I think that's an introduction and an overview of the key elements of the scheme. If we move on to the next slide, this just simply illustrates the connectivity of the site, which everyone who is either local or lives in and around South Wales will be familiar with this. And if we move to the next slide, again, Lynn, here there's some information about the indoor snow centre, and in particular this is indeed one of our key anchor attractions. When we first started to look at a development in the area, the council in fact introduced us to Snowsport Wales, CEO of Snowsport Wales, and this first started off the concept of an indoor snow centre here at Rhydycar West in Merthyr. And this would very much be based on the model of snow centres that doesn't exist in the UK. So very much a European model, around 400 meters, and these are international standard snow centres. There's a bunch of information, additional stuff on our website as well. I think the main thing that we sort of want to highlight here is that this is going to be, if you like, the sort of Wembley of snow sport for the UK. It will be the centre for Team GB, as well as the Welsh national and Olympic teams, who will use this as their headquarters and for training and their centre of excellence for the UK. Coupled with that, it provides a fantastic experience for beginners, learners, people who've never tried it as well, to get enthusiastic and to try it out. We look for, and it's an attraction that appeals to all levels of sort of skill, right up from the complete beginner onto the more seasoned sort of professional. And I think Richard, this is something as the main snow enthusiast between us, something where maybe you can add a few points here, if you'd like, on this particular element.
Yes, I mean, Ali alluded to the fact that it really is, although we're delighted to say that Team GB and Snowsport Wales want to develop this as the national centre of excellence, that doesn't make it elitist. It does mean that your peer group, from times you'll be able to see some of the best athletes on snow sport training, etc. there, but it's really open to everybody. It's at the heart of the resort, which is a resort that's looking for extended stays, people staying for 5, 6, 7, a full week's holiday, maybe even a fortnight, not just in skiing and snow sport. The water park is going to be significant as far as UK offerings, indoor and outdoor attractions. The real principle behind all of this is really trying to separate it slightly. If you can imagine, most people know about the success of centre parks in the UK as an offering all year round, predicated pretty much on a guarantee of the conditions and the weather that you'll experience your holiday in, and the indoor water park gives you that sort of confidence of knowing, and indoor activities, that everything will be fine. So we took that bit as an important part, because we know about the weather in Wales, as something that would galvanise confidence in longer stays. And so that centre parks offering is very much at the heart of this, including the outdoor lodges. But we've introduced hotels because we see this as base camp, if you like, Rhydycar West, not just for our elements and leisure offerings, which operate all year round and indoors. There is, and our saying is, this is where the great indoors meets the great outdoors. Wales, as we know, just 3.5 miles up the road from our location is the national park, the Brecon Beacons, and a whole raft of outdoor activities, canyoning, paddleboarding, caving, obviously fantastic walking and climbing, etc., kayaking, that on the best of the days, you know, one can enjoy a tremendously action adventure holiday. So we see the hotels and the various offerings not only as creating a longer stay opportunity, but really very much base camp, if you like, Merthyr, Heads of the Valley, so that you can reach out into the rest of what Wales has to offer for an extraordinary holiday experience. That really is what's behind all of those elements coming together. And I'll say it again, it's where the great outdoors meets the great indoors. So over back to you, Ali.
Fantastic, great. And Lynn, if we could move on to the next slide. So again, you know, we want to have an attractive array of offerings that are of interest and attract people with different who like different sorts of activities. So the indoor water park we have will be one of the biggest in the UK, with all sorts of exciting rides, surf simulators, etc. If we move on to the next slide, Lynn, indoor and outdoor adventure centres encompassing attractions such as zip lines, building on attractions that already are in South Wales at the moment. Some of you may be very familiar with the new zipline attraction that opened up just sort of over the valley a couple of months ago, and we are looking at essentially complementing all those things and building on some of the successes of, say, Bike Park Wales, Zip World, Rock UK, etc., and adding complementary indoor and outdoor attractions as well. Onto the next slide. This just gives you some ideas of other visuals, concepts we have that we're developing with partners at the moment. And then if we can move on to the next slide, Lynn. So I'm just taking us back just to reflect for a moment on the overall viewpoint of the site, the overall kind of overview. And what we'll do now is I'll take you through the images and where we are at the moment with our architects, our master planners, our technical team, and showing you a number of visuals that will really sort of bring, I hope, the project to life for you. Show you the sort of buildings, the interactions, and how everything is sort of coming together as an overall development. So Lynn, if we can go to the next slide. So this is the current master plan overview of the various buildings and elements and attractions on the site. And what I'll do here is I'll give you just an explanation of the different buildings, what they are, and how they sort of fit together. And then we'll move into more detailed shots of specific buildings and take you on a little, if you like, site tour around the site. So hopefully that will give you a very good idea and flavor of what we have and what's coming out of our master plans. So I think the first one, which is probably very obvious to everyone, is the snow center here. So that is, as we said, around 400 meters. On the other side, we have the water park building, and the indoor adventure center sits alongside the snow center, and the outdoor adventure center extends sort of further south from there. What I should have said before is, if you're looking at the map, to the right is to the north towards the Brecon Beacons up the A470. To the left on the map is going down towards Cardiff. And if we come sort of to the bottom end of the map, we get to the A470, and the other side of the A470 is Merthyr. So hopefully that helps to sort of orient people in terms of the of how this fits in sort of geographically. The other buildings on here are the different hotel wings. So we have 3 distinct hotel wings. We have the resort wing, which is here, which is attached and very integrated with the snow center. We have the sort of spa luxury wing, which sits in that area there. And on the other side of the site, we have the value and sort of sport wing. And as I said, these are designed to bring different kind of concepts and different types of accommodation offerings to people. So there is a good choice of that. And in total, around 400 rooms is what all the hotel wings together will amount to. In addition to that, we can see the area of the car park, which is just to the left there. That will all be, maybe Lynn, you could put your cursor over the car park area. There we go. So that is going to be landscaped, and as we'll see from some of the later images, they're different levels. So that's not going to be so visible as you'll see from the images that come later on. We have what we call a central piazza or square, which is this area here, with an amphitheater element built into it. In addition to that, this is something that could be used for local events, festivals, destinations. So we're really excited to have that space there that can be used for those things. In addition to that, we have the garden area, which is more for a private area for private functions and things that will be used by potentially hotel guests and others who want to book it for events such as weddings and other special occasions like that. So I think that's an overview of the site and the different buildings on it. Richard, is there anything you wanted to add to that before I go into the specific kind of viewpoints?
No, other than the fact that this is not something that's just arrived today, if you know what I mean. This has been a progression since February, with many iterations in conjunction with Holder Mathis, the architects, who are actually the architects for Center Parcs, do work on that. So they come with a great pedigree in that sense. And our brief right at the beginning was to have something that could sit comfortably into the landscape. And obviously that's also determined not only by design, but reference to materials, that you see and touch. The second thing it needed to be is, because this is very much an alpine flavor, if you like, to have a slight hint of alpine look about it, because the whole thing rests on the side of the mountain opposite Merthyr. It needed to be contemporary and modern, but something that wouldn't date or too modern just for the sake of it. And ultimately within our brief is we needed something that we believe that could stand out as an iconic landmark at the position that this sits at the heads of the valley, and of course the gateway to the entire valleys region. And the progression to get to where we are right now and what we'll be showing is really amplified throughout that process to where we are now, which is very much close to concluding. What you're seeing now in terms of the volumes, the masses and the elements is it. There'll be fine detail as always. And then once we've got through a thing called REBA 2, which is when we're presenting this for the planning application, then the further detail comes a bit further on. But we're particularly excited to see that this has grown into becoming, we think, an iconic landmark development for this area.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Thanks for that, Richard. I couldn't agree more. So I think then let's dive into the more detailed images. So here is sort of if you like, the entry to the site. So coming in to the resort, you see sort of in front of you the spa hotel. And again, Lynn, if you could use your cursor to just indicate the buildings. Yep, so that's the spa hotel there. We can see on the right-hand side the snow center, which of course follows the topography of the mountain and goes up the mountain. And to the left, we can see the water park, and sort of in the gap between the spa hotel and the water park, you can see, at the back there, the resort hotel. So this is sort of, if you like, the first kind of viewpoint and visuals you get as you come into the development. So then if we move on to the next slide, again, just to take you back, just to orientate you, we've just done that bit where we've come in at the roundabout there on the right-hand side. We're now going to show you, as we drive round here, this area here where you come past the water park and start to look into this area of the site as you're driving towards the car park. So that'll be the next one which comes up. And again, on the right here, we have the water park building, which, Lynn, again, if kindly you could wave your cursor on. Fantastic, excellent. We have a link. It's not going to be in red, if that's the question that some of you are thinking of. This is simply a work in progress on the drawing here, but it just shows how we're integrating and linking the different parts of the site. Because on the left-hand side, you have the Value and Sport Hotel here. So again, you know, there's a direct link to get into the water park and get across to the snow center without walking across. The Piazza, especially if you're in your gear and you don't want to be walking across there, or it's the weather's particularly unpleasant on a given day. And in the backdrop there, we can see the resort hotel, and of course the mountain in the background, which extends much further up the hill. So I think that's that particular viewpoint. Lynn, shall we move back to the overview? And then as we continue our drive round, we come into sort of this area here, and where we're looking at the car parking area, and then we have a couple of viewpoints which we'll come on to, looking into the site from that point. So if we go to the next one, so this will be sort of towards the back, or midway through rather, the car park, with some car parking on the right and left and sort of behind. And as you can see, our architecture, will become clearer later on, are using levels to blend into the landscape, to create a very attractive kind of flow of architecture. And again, looking into the site here, on the right-hand side, we have the Value, the Sport Hotel. On the left-hand side, closest to us, we have the Indoor Adventure Center area, and then the Resort Hotel, and in the background, the Spa Hotel, and to the right, the water park. And as you can see, the way we sort of devised the architecture and been careful to design is to make sure we retain, from when you're in the resort, you can still see the mountains to the left going up the hill, and also look towards the beacons, and so you still get that natural viewpoint even though you're in the resort, which we think is very important, and we wanted to make sure we bring into our design concept. So then on to, I guess, the next viewpoint, Lynn. So again, if we can just orient everyone, that will be looking again into the site again from a similar point around the car park Piazza area. So if we can flick to the next one, Lynn, that'd be great. And this is slightly closer to the site. So here you are, than where we were before, rather closer to the main buildings, the resort hotel on the left. You get a view, and I'll just wait for Lynn to bring up his cursor onto the resort hotel. There we are, the resort hotel. The Piazza, you can see, which is a large space here, which we think is fantastic, as I mentioned, for events, potentially festivals, etc. The Spa Hotel at the back, and again the water park on the right hand side. Great.
And Ali, just butting in, the hotel reception straight ahead. That's the first view of the hotel, entrance to everything directly ahead.
Thanks, Richard, and I'd forgotten about that. Thanks for bringing that up. And I think to the left-hand side as well, we have some areas there for potentially F&B, and also to the right of the reception area, just between the reception and the bridge area there, exactly where your cursor is, Lynn. That will be conferencing potentially and used for events. and business activities such as away days, corporate events, even education and training events. And we're looking at putting in what we think will be a fantastic sort of conference suite and facilities for that there as well. Richard, anything else I've missed out on that one?
I don't think you have, apart from hopefully what's developing in front of the people watching is a little bit of a guided tour as a potential customer, really. But the most important thing is the connectivity of everything. That when you're in the resort and exploring the elements, it's all a connected experience that can happen, in a very flowing way without real interaction with weather, if the weather's not good, which is again that principle of centre parks. It's that guarantee in your holiday that that everything's going to be fine, the whole family can enjoy themselves. But this is Wales as well, and when the weather is fine and it's a crisp winter's morning with a great frost on it, there's nothing better than getting out, into the open spaces. There's a whole range of walk paths planned, cycle paths, and of course wider adventure, and dare we say it, trekking the Brecon Beacons. When you find those really great days to be inspired, and that's what we think is the key to this all year round confidence that weather is not going to be your enemy.
Absolutely.
Thank
Fantastic. You. Cool. So Lynn, if you could do the honors and we could go on to the next one. So again, the overview here, and if we move on to the next image, Lynn, again, this is a slightly different look at sorry, if we go back to the one before. Sorry, Lynn, I forgot to orientate everyone. So this again is the entrance area, but a slightly elevated view, so a bit higher up, so you can get a view of the spa hotel looking in from, again, the main entrance roundabout. So if we can go to the next one, Lynn, thanks. And again, the buildings which you're hopefully you're becoming familiar with now. On the left-hand side is the water park. Then going round to the right, the spa hotel, the resort hotels, and of course going up the hillside there is the water park, and right in the back there the adventure center, and to the left the parking area.
And Ali, if I can just add the importance of the private area that we're looking into, which is the private garden area, maybe function area as well, because we genuinely believe that this looks at longer stays, than normally happens in the Welsh valleys. So that there's going to be a mix. There will still be day visitors, etc., especially for the ski slope, etc. But those that are staying in the hotel environments for 3, 5, 7 nights will have a completely exclusive private area. Of course, it's going to be landscaped, and therefore have that sort of tranquil comfort whenever they wish of retreating from the action, for want of a better phrase. So it's a bit of a sanctuary retreat along with the spa hotel to the right there. So you've got that a great eclectic mix, a great adventure holiday, but time to relax.
Absolutely. Cool. Lynn, if we could move on to the next image then. And I think, again, you've seen this a few times now. That's the overview. I think now we have some more detailed close-ups of the different buildings. So this is all the hotel wings, if you like. So starting from the right, the sport and value wing, the spa wing, and then the resort wing. So we break that up into Resort A and Resort B because they're slightly a little bit apart, but that's more for functional reasons. But again, I think just picking up on some things that that Richard said as well, all connected through inner walkways and what have you. So the experience as someone who's staying there is very much being in an integrated resort, and indeed someone coming who's not staying there, who's using the facilities. Again, once you're in, you're able to access the snow as a day visitor, the snow center, the indoor adventure centers, and the water parks together, without actually, seamlessly, without going, crossing roads or crossing big spaces, and it's all close together and compact and functionally designed to create good sort of flows within it. Great. Lynn, on to the next one. This is a close-up of the resort wing. And again, on the green roof we're looking at there, potentially this is, of course, still a little bit of a work in progress, but using that as outdoor space, open space for terraces and things. And you can see that's the green space just on the left there. And to the right here is part of the sort of garden, the private sort of garden area functions that can be used by in-house guests, but also people looking to do events there, whether they be corporate events or sort of more personal celebratory events such as weddings, anniversaries, things like that, birthdays. Great. Lynn, if we can go to the next one. Here, the spa hotel next to the resort wing, section B of the resort wing, and again the garden area for private events and for in-house guests.
And I mean, worth just mentioning there, one of the design features that you alluded to earlier is that from wherever you are, you still have mountain vistas. That was one of the key things, from the roof profile on the extreme left through the gaps in the hotels, and especially as you go further right, you've got the Brecon Beacons coming into play. So as you're sitting in the garden there, sipping a cool beer or a cocktail, it doesn't feel enclosed as such. Quite the reverse. That was the objective there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and actually, Richard, good you touched on that, because a lot of the work that we've been doing, Richard, you and I, with the architects, is really ensuring that we have those gaps, if you like, those open spaces, so you can kind of see through to the scenery, to the countryside and the surroundings, pretty much from anywhere in the site. And we think that's something that makes the design a real plus for people who are enjoying the experience of being there.
Yes.
Great. Lynn, if you could move on to the next one. So here, again, this is looking back from the garden sort of entry from the spa hotel, really, towards the resort wings and back to sort of the main reception. And maybe if you could put your sort of cursor on there. So that's the resort hotel. We can see there to the left, exactly where you are. Lynn, if you can see that corridor there, that is space that we are earmarking for conferencing, but also food and beverage outlets. So, for example, a nice restaurant with bar where you could sit out in the open air, on the terrace, on a nice day, and enjoy the great views and the sunshine, and also experience things from there. And I think another thing, just to pick up on one of the on sort of designs of the hotels here, is balconies, and ensuring that people who are staying at the hotels have that opportunity to sort of get out onto a balcony and enjoy the openness and the scenery, which you aren't necessarily able to experience in more sort of urban settings.
And just to add a little bit more, excuse me, Ali, to the left side of the picture, Lynn, if you can bring your cursor over to the left, that is just the edge profile of the water park, excuse me, that, if you like, shrouds this garden area, and there will be a feature where the water park protrudes out. So it'll probably be like a sort of a water flow canal, something where people are going around, but you'll be able to move inside and outside into part of that area, and both spectators, diners, etc., will be able to see and be part of that sort of interaction.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Great, Lynn. If we could go to the next slide. This is looking backwards across the garden again towards the spa hotel and the resort wings. I think that's probably all I have on that slide. I don't know, Richard, if you want to add anything more. I think we made the points about sort of openness and the use of the garden before. So maybe we move on to the next one.
I think so. We've probably pretty much covered most of the key issues of a feeling of open space and connectivity.
Absolutely.
And I think this is probably the last relevant one, which just shows how the main sport hotel, which is the bit on the right, connects to the indoor adventure centre.
Absolutely, absolutely, fantastic, great. So Lynn, if we could go to the next slide. So after seeing all of the sort of images and the overview master plan of the buildings and how they're arranged, this is the overall master plan of the site. And Lynn's just going to zoom in a little bit. So essentially, just to orientate everyone, Lynn, if you could first point out where Rhydycar Roundabout is. So that's there. So the entry point onto our site is from there. All the way on the right-hand side of the A470 is Merthyr, essentially. So maybe if you could point out roughly where sort of the orbit center is, if we can see that just to the left, move the cursor to the left a bit more, where the green is. I think around there, and then moving up towards Piazza Retail Park, which is further up the site, so people get a good idea where that is. If we can show them where Hulgerig is as well. So that's Hulgerig, all that area there. And I think everything you see sort of in red, and I appreciate the line is a little bit faint probably for you to see, but the red line that goes all the way around kind of the that area there, Lynn's just tracing it now, is the entire site within our ownership. And I think the important thing that we want to emphasize here is that the site that we own is about 575 acres approximately. But the actual development area in our site, which is all on the south of our site, so off the A470 where we have and Rhydycar Roundabout where we have the main access, is less than 15% of the total site in terms of area, and also is a large percentage of that will not actually be developed area, because while some of it includes the buildings we've looked at, a lot of it will be dedicated to open space, walking, and areas for lodges as well. So this just gives to give you an overall perspective of the overall area of the site, the land that is within our ownership, and how the development area fits into that as sort of a percentage, to give you an idea of scale. The next slide, Lynn, is a close-up, a more close-up view. So again, this is the site, just looking at the southern end of the site. Again, Rhydycar Roundabout there. If Lynn, you could just circle Rhydycar Roundabout exactly. And I think that one thing which we can, which I'd just like to highlight firstly, is the lodges to the south of the site. So there are lodges in these areas here, and we're looking, this is still something we're working on in terms of the designs, the layouts, etc. We're fairly advanced in that yet, but we don't have images that we're able to present right now, but we'll be able to do that in the next, in the coming weeks. So we look forward to providing more details on our website and elsewhere about that. And I think this slide enables me to make a couple of points, which I think, we've had a lot of fantastic feedback on the site and a lot of questions as well. And a couple of key areas of concern, obviously, for people is the site that we own is very rich in heritage and history. And we're very aware of that, and its place in the overall history of Merthyr in the South Valleys region, and how our site has played a part in sort of the Industrial Revolution, the ironworks, and all the other sort of heritage and historic features in and around Merthyr. On our site, we have at the moment 8 scheduled ancient monuments, which we're very proud of. When we came to own the site, we worked, there are already 2 scheduled ancient monuments. We worked with CADU to schedule a further 6 of them. Some of them are outlined on this map, although it's not terribly clear. But I think some of the questions we've had, quite rightly, from people who've asked us about the development is what will happen with the heritage sites. So our development has been designed specifically to not only avoid direct impact on the heritage attractions and features on the site, which we believe and feel are a real asset to the site, but to help enhance those, provide better management of those, and also to create better accessibility for those. So that is something I just wanted to say about the heritage and our perspective and our sort of philosophy on how we believe that these are assets that will really be useful and something that can be enjoyed by people visiting the site, locals, people coming to visit from a long distance as well. We're also currently working with Merthyr Council, who are working with Welsh Government, working to reopen the Merthyr Aberdare Tunnel. We've already dedicated a particular access point and footpaths to be able to facilitate that. That's the project we've been working with the council, who are working with Welsh Government to sort of achieve. So those are some of the kind of things I'd like to say about heritage. But rather than me continue to go on about those, what I'd like to do is just show our video, which is also available on our website, on the heritage, because I think that puts it in a very kind of clear and sort of succinct way what our ambitions are and how we're working with these assets to really bring them to life.
Preservation of the heritage sites has always been really important to us, which is why we've made sure our development integrates all of these. We are very mindful that the heritage sites on the land are an important part of the rich history of Merthyr and the valleys. We are working hard to make sure all these will be linked up with other sites like Piazza Castle and the ironworks. In fact, we have invested significant time and money to ensure that the site's history is preserved. We've made it accessible to locals and tourists by implementing walking and bike trails on the site. We hope our efforts will complement and enhance the overall heritage offering of Merthyr Tydfil.
Fantastic, thanks for that, Lynn. And that leads me on to, I think, the final point I'd like to make here, which you've probably seen from the colouring on this and the slide before, is the green versus the yellow shading on here. So one of the other features and assets of our site is it does have a rich ecological history and certain designations to it. So, for example, the yellow area that you can see there is a SSSI, which is an important ecological designation. Now, when we first acquired the site, one of the first things we did is we commissioned ecologists to look very carefully at the different habitats and species that were on the site, and we started surveying the site back in 2015. So that's over 6 years ago now. And what we've been doing since then is we have created a very important database and survey history of the important features on there. And the development that you've seen is designed to essentially develop in the least ecologically significant portions of the site and and reduce as much as possible and minimize as much as possible any impact and any incursion into the SSSI. As you can see from the site, there are a couple of places where, in terms of the development, it does cross into the SSSI. There are 2 points here. One is at the access point to the site, and one is also where the snow center goes up the slope and up the hill rather, and into the SSSI. These were elements and attractions which really we couldn't locate anywhere else due to topography and certain other reasons. But again, the impact is how we've tried to keep the impact as minimal as possible, and the impact on the SSSI, or the amount of development on the SSSI, will be around 15 acres of development versus, you know, a site of SSSI of many hundreds of acres. And again, I think rather than me sort of explaining in words, we're going to play again a video that's available on our site regarding the ecology to give you visually some more insight into how, you know, seriously we've looked at all of this and how hard we're working to ensure the ecological impact is minimized as far as possible. So Lynn, if you could play the ecology video that's on our website, that'd be great.
Our Rhydycar West development plans are nearing completion, with the planning application targeted to be submitted later this year, so just a few short months from now. Here is the current computer-generated plan of the development. Much of Rhydycar West is ecologically rich, with parts being designated as SSSI, Site of Specific Scientific Interest, or SINC, Site of Importance for Nature Conservation. The first step in our 5+ years of designing this transformational regeneration scheme was to fully understand the environment across the site and to use the knowledge to design a development in harmony with the prevailing landscape. We embarked on our first ecology surveys and study of the site in 2015, and since then we have been continually studying and recording the ecology of the site. Surveys have been and continue to be carried out across the full range of habitats and species through all seasons. This has included an extensive array of specialist surveys, including birds, amphibians and reptiles, dormice, bats, badgers, waxcaps, butterflies and grassland fungi. In this current whole of site master plan view, we have shown the SSSI marked in green. It's important to note that the whole of the site is around 575 acres, and our development sited in the south is less than 15% of the whole area. Only a minority portion of the 15% will be built upon, with the rest remaining as natural green outdoor leisure space and woods. You will also note that only the access point of the development and the element of the ski slope enters the SSSI designated land. Knowing that these ecological designations and the species and habitats that underpin them are a special characteristic of the site, we have carefully designed our plans to take account and be sensitive of these special characteristics so the ecological significance of the site can continue to flourish. We hope this information gives you some insight into the importance we place and the consideration we are giving to the ecological impact of the development. Further information can be found on our website at www.readincarwest.com. If you have any questions, use the Get in Touch button on the site.
Thanks, Lynn. So I think that brings us to the end of the presentation, where I hope we've given you a really good overview and flavour of the development as it stands at the moment, how much sort of work has gone in, etc. There's nothing really I'd like to add at this point before sort of Q&As. Richard, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, hopefully we've brought everybody up to speed and along with us, perhaps on a bit of a journey, which has been a long journey over 5-6 years. And literally planning application is only a few weeks away. So very exciting times, despite a very difficult time the last 18 months for everybody, and progressing this. We're very proud of what we've achieved in the last 18 months especially. Yeah, so all very good. I think that the technical term of that's a wrap. Lynn, thank you very much for that. Now it's any questions would be great.
Excellent. I think I've just seen the first one come up there, Lynn. How long will it take to complete once the permission is granted? So we expect the construction phase to be about two and a half years. So after permission is granted, there'll be a bit of time to sort of mobilize and get the kind of contractors on site, etc. So add about 6 months to that, about 2 to 2.5 years. So a 2.5 to 3 year time frame is what we expect in terms of construction. And to preempt maybe a question that someone else has about, you know, will you be building everything at the same time? Will you be building things in phases? The answer to that is we view this very much as an integrated leisure resort. So the idea is to have the resort come online all at one go. So the major leisure elements will all be built at the same time, meaning the snow center, the water park, the indoor and outdoor adventure centers, and hotel accommodation. But we're still discussing and looking at options to perhaps phase some of the hotel accommodation. You saw there were 2 resort wings, A and B there. It could be that we do them all at once, or it could be some of the hotel accommodation is phased also, as well as the lodges. So great. So I think the next question is, can you show the public transport drop-offs and connectivity, trails integration, etc., please? So I think in answer to that question, we have for a long period had our transport consultants on board with this project, and at the moment they are looking as part of the planning application as to how public transport would integrate and drop off into the site. We have built in a drop off for buses between the sort of piazza and the parking area there. In terms of exact public transport drop off routes, that's something which is still a work in progress. So we can come back to you with further information on that once we have further detail as the plans move a little bit further on. In terms of the trails integration, I presume we're talking about biking and walking trails here. So with some of you familiar with the site, you'll know that there are already, I think, a couple of overpasses from Merthyr onto the site that we will look to integrate into on-site trails as well. We're also working with the council on a number of, as we mentioned, a number of trails and pathways, for example, access to the Merthyr Aberdair Tunnel and a number of other historic routes which we would look to open up on the site to create access for all of those things. Great. So I think the next one is the opportunity to incorporate YHA or school and community organizations beneficial. I think maybe Richard, this might be one you want to take to discuss your, how you've been working with Merthyr College and others in Merthyr recently, and what your take on that one is.
Sure. Given that we start hopefully with a world-class facility, which is always a benefit, which focuses around the snow. Water parks are universally sort of family leisure, but there's a couple of things that we wanted to look at with the operator that we have ready, one of Europe's largest, to operate the whole site. It was where the value hotel comes in as such, because answering it, in terms of youth hostel association, etc., they are things that we're building a resort for resort purposes, so that there may not be a direct connection there, but we are very keen to develop from the snow sport point of view. I believe there's a significant opportunity for Wales and Merthyr and the Valleys region to re-look at the ubiquitous school ski trip, if you like, which tends to go to the Alps. It is fairly expensive and will be much more expensive in the future, post-COVID, we expect. And without going into this too much, it's for local entrepreneurs to look at the opportunity with a world-class facility like this, and of course Snow Sport Wales, that I think they could change the entire shape of the UK school ski trips. 3 nights staying at Rhydycar West, using the value hotel lodging to get value put into the whole system, and 3 nights is equivalent to a week in the Alps in terms of time on snow. You've got guaranteed conditions, guaranteed visibility, controlled environments, suits, if you like, teachers and school trips completely. They're the, if you like, inclusive opportunities that, you know, we'd like to see happen. And of course, those other inclusions become, this is a fantastic local facility. And of course, all of those people living locally, especially youngsters, students, etc., there is going to be, I can't talk on behalf of the operator, but certainly it's in everybody's interest to have certain concessions to make this accessible to all. But in terms of particularly YHA, it's difficult to answer that because the resort sets itself up with the functions and hotels, etc., that we have at the moment.
And I think just to add on to that, Richard, because I'm very aware of what Rock UK have done, just very close by in terms of creating sort of accommodation that will be at an affordable level for school trips. That's really the idea behind the value hotel as well there. And I think in terms of school and community, you know, what we're looking at here is a resort that not only is for people coming to stay longer and increasing tourism to Wales, etc., but really for locals and people in the local area and the South Wales region to use as well. And things like, you know, after school activities for local schools at the snow centre, learn to ski. I mean, those are things that you know, the operators we're working with are very keen to sort of introduce use of our facilities for those sorts of things. So there are lots of synergies which we've discussed with people locally that you know, at this stage are still in the initial phases, but will be developed as we start to get towards, you know, actually bringing everything online. So we're excited about all those opportunities as well. Great, excellent. And then the next question that has come up is say, appreciate it's early days, but good to understand where the current forecast costs for the project sit and how it's being funded. So in terms of the forecast costs, our forecast cost estimates, so we did essentially a desktop study of this with our consultants, which we completed over a year ago. Around £150 million is the build cost, the capital cost that we estimate. What obviously you've seen now with all the drawings, etc., is really starting to get into the detail of the developments, the buildings, etc., and working with the operators that we have onboarded and we're aiming to partner with for this, have brought in all their operational and commercial experience as well. So that's really helped us to create operational efficiencies. Richard mentioned Reba 2, which is the final phase. We're almost complete with that. It'll be a couple of weeks now when we come to the end of that. At the end of that process, we will do essentially a refresh of the costs, and at that point we will provide more information about the costs, etc. But we expect them to be, because we've already done the informal process with the operators and people who are commercially operating, that we expect them to be within the same kind of ballpark. In terms of the funding for the project, very similar to the master plan that we're developing at the moment, and finalizing that to a point where we can put in the planning. Again, our discussions, we've had very in-depth discussions with a number of different funding partners on this, and those are also going to be finalized in the context of and in parallel with finalizing our planning permission and submitting that. We have interest and funding options from a number of areas, including institutional investors, others from an equity investment point of view, and we're very excited to be working with them, and we're very confident that from a funding perspective, we have really some very strong strong contenders with good track records who are interested in investing here. And I think the other thing that it's worth saying from this point of view is, you know, we have been doing all of this in a period in the last sort of 2 years or so of COVID, where really, as many of you know, the leisure industry, there's been a lot of question marks over the leisure industry and its response to this. And really talking to the industry, the funders who work in the space, and others, there is a lot of positive kind of feeling about the leisure industry, and in particular sort of the staycation market, which we think we feed into in a huge way of coming out of this very strongly. The other thing I'd like to say as well, in terms of the funding for the project so far, all the funding for this project has been put in by ourselves. We have funded it through our shareholders and landowners. There's been no external funding at all to date, and in particular, no government funding at all. We know from a lot of the questions and things that have been asked to us in comments that a number of other projects in and around the region and in Wales and also in the UK have in the past taken a lot of public money up front, and plans have not really come to fruition. We're very proud to say that you know, we've invested not only our time in our money, and it's significant amounts of money to get to this point here, and that really underpins our confidence in the success of this project, and our business plan, and the viability of this.
Okay, guys, I think that's a wrap because of an hour. I know there's some people who've still got some questions. We'll endeavour to get back to those people via Facebook. But for now, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for watching, and look forward to perhaps speaking to you in some way or form, or seeing you on the slope or in the pool in 2024-25. Thank you.
Fantastic. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.